Crescent moon and M on your hand? Here are 5 things that will happen if you have this. Have you ever caught yourself staring at those mysterious lines, wondering if they hold secrets about your life's journey or if they're just random creases? Friend, you're not alone. Welcome to Sound Codes, the place where we uncover hidden spiritual truths that modern America often overlooks. Today, we'll dive into how an ordinary mom named Jessica in California stumbled upon these signs and discovered powerful connections to ancient biblical wisdom, connections that might transform the way you see your own faith, purpose, and relationships. Stay with me, because by the end of this video, I promise you'll gain fresh insight. And there's a special bonus waiting for those who watch all the way through. Trust me, you won't want to miss it. Ready for a breakthrough? Let's begin where so many people get it all wrong. Sign 1. The whisper that sparks a journey. Crescent moon and M on your hand? Some call it divine intervention, others dismiss it as mere coincidence. Where do you stand, friend? From the very moment I noticed these shapes in my own hands, I felt an electric rush of possibility. Maybe you feel it too, a longing to understand whether there's a deeper spiritual meaning behind these subtle lines. And perhaps you're wondering if you're reaching for hope that isn't really there, or if there's something truly sacred about these simple markings. I remember sitting in a bustling cafe in Seattle, hearing the whir of espresso machines and the hum of strangers' conversations. That's where I met Marjorie, a retired schoolteacher who had a tiny crescent line near her lifeline. She admitted she'd always thought it was just a genetic quirk, until a friend pointed out that some traditions, both ancient and modern, link such marks to God's quiet call on our lives. Marjorie confessed it seemed far-fetched at first. But she also recognized a gentle tug in her heart, hinting that maybe this was more than superstition. If there's a part of you that resonates with that tug, you're in the right place. I've spent years studying the Bible and digging into faith-based psychology, and one thing has become clear: Scripture shows us that God often uses small, ordinary details, like a shepherd's staff or 5 loaves of bread, to ignite extraordinary purposes. What if these lines on your palms function the same way, nudging you toward a unique path that's been waiting for you all along? You might be skeptical, and that's okay. Maybe you fear leaning into what might be called magical thinking. Or maybe you're intrigued but unsure how it all fits into your busy American life, filled with long work hours, soccer practices for the kids, and that never-ending scroll through TikTok. Yet deep inside, you sense there's something bigger at play. If this is stirring something in you, don't forget to hit subscribe and tap the bell. We're just getting started. I want to invite you on a journey that could open your eyes to hidden truths about identity, purpose, and spiritual connection. Each of these 5 parts builds upon the last, so stay with me until the end, because that's where a surprising revelation might speak directly into your life. Let's see what happens when we move past our doubts and dive deeper into the mystery of those remarkable lines. Before we move on, think about this question. Are you ready to discover that God might be speaking through even the smallest, most ordinary detail of your existence? Let that thought linger in your mind as we step into sign 2. Sign 2. Why these marks matter more than you think. Have you ever felt like your life was spinning too fast, leaving you struggling to find meaning in the day-to-day grind? Whether you attend church weekly or have never cracked open a Bible, the question of purpose can keep you awake at night. That's where the crescent moon and the M on your hand come in, or so some believers say. Maybe you're rolling your eyes right now, thinking it's all just hype. But consider this: God has used smaller things to guide people before. Why not a faint outline on your palm? I met a young single dad named Stephen who was wrestling with spiritual doubts. He worked 2 jobs in Los Angeles to support his daughter, and the weight of responsibility wore him down. One day, While changing a flat tire in the scorching California sun, he noticed a distinct M shape crossing his palm. He'd heard rumors that it could indicate a calling for leadership or protection, a sign of both resilience and divine direction. He laughed it off until he began noticing small, uncanny coincidences, like meeting the right people at the right time, receiving unexpected financial help when he needed it most, and feeling a peace that couldn't be explained logically. Suddenly, that M symbol went from a random fold in his skin to an emblem of hope. If you think about your own life, chances are you've had moments that felt more than random. Moments you couldn't fully explain, as if someone out there was watching over you. Those are the moments that remind us we're part of a bigger tapestry. Maybe you've had a dream so vivid it jolted you awake, or read a verse in scripture that felt written just for you. Who's to say the lines on our palms can't also be part of that divine conversation? We've only just begun, and already you might sense the stirring of questions, like, could your life have a bigger narrative that's unfolding right now? We'll talk about how these shapes might connect to ancient biblical truths, but before we do, let me give you a friendly warning. We're about halfway through this journey, and the most important insights often come near the end. If you're needing a sign, a confirmation from God or from your own inner compass, hang in there until the final part of this video. That's where I'll share a story so personal it still makes my heart pound whenever I tell it. For now, reflect on whether you're ready to accept that small signs might hold colossal meaning. If you are, let's keep moving toward a deeper understanding of what those lines might reveal. Sign 3: Ancient Truth Meets Modern Life. We live in a culture obsessed with scientific proof, hard data, and bullet point evidence. Yet the Bible is full of passages that speak to mysteries beyond empirical measure. Gideon asked for signs, Abraham followed stars, and Mary experienced an angelic visitation, none of which can be measured by any lab test. That doesn't mean these moments weren't real or powerful. It simply means faith often lives where logic ends. The crescent moon and M on your hand could be modern echoes of that timeless interplay between the physical and the divine. I recall a personal story that forever changed how I see signs. During a particularly rough season, financial stress, emotional burnout, and health issues all colliding, I found myself reading Psalm 139 late into the night. The words about being fearfully and wonderfully made struck me in a new way. I glanced at my own palm, noticed a half-formed crescent near the base, and felt a calm wash over me, as if God was saying, even in your chaos, I still have you in the palm of my hand. It wasn't that my problems magically disappeared, but my perspective shifted. I was reminded of who ultimately holds the blueprint of my life, and it gave me courage to face another day. Now, maybe you're thinking, that's just emotional interpretation. And hey, you're entitled to think that. But consider the countless people, both in biblical times and today, who have sensed God's presence in what outsiders might call coincidences. Scripture says, the heavens declare the glory of God, so why not the lines that run across your hands as well? This reflection isn't just for spiritual gurus or churchgoers. If you've ever felt something tugging at your soul, an unexplainable nudge toward compassion or a sudden burst of creativity, then you know the intangible is as real as any spreadsheet. American life often glorifies the hustle, the data, the endless pursuit of achievements, but the intangible moments, these subtle signs, keep us grounded in what truly matters. If this resonates with you, consider tapping that subscribe button so we can continue exploring this shared journey. Your own perspective might be the key that unlocks clarity for someone else. Next, we'll dive deeper into how these lines could offer not just spiritual reassurance but also practical guidance in times of crisis. Because let's be real, it's one thing to sense a divine sign, but how do you use it to navigate everyday challenges? Let's find out together in Sign 4. Sign 4: Navigating Crisis with Sacred Clues. Life can feel like a battlefield, especially when crises hit without warning. Maybe it's an unexpected layoff, a medical diagnosis, or a crumbling relationship. In those dark valleys, even the strongest faith can waver. But what if the crescent moon or M on your hand could serve as a guiding light when you feel trapped under storm clouds? Think about Sam, an ex-military mechanic I met near Fort Bragg. He grew up in a Christian home but drifted from faith after experiencing the harsh realities of war. When he returned, everything felt off, nightmares haunted him, and he struggled to find work that matched his skill set. One night, feeling lost, he noticed an M shape that seemed more prominent than before. On a whim, he flipped open his grandmother's old Bible to a passage in Jeremiah, "For I know the plans I have for you." That verse, combined with the lines in his palm, hit him like a wave. He said it felt as if God whispered, "Yes, you've been through darkness, but I'm still guiding your steps." Sam decided to interpret that M as a personal reminder to move forward in faith. Slowly, he sought therapy for his PTSD, joined a local veterans support group, and opened himself up to the possibility that God could use even his scars to help others. Just as the shape on his hand was a constant nudge, Sam found daily encouragement in Scripture and in the stories of those who had walked similar roads. Over time, the nightmares lessened, and he discovered a renewed sense of purpose, using his mechanical skills to offer free car repairs for single moms in his neighborhood. His life didn't turn into a fairy tale, but the crisis no longer defined him. Maybe you're in a season like that, where everything feels unsteady. Could these lines on your palms serve as a tangible reminder that your story isn't over? The crisis may be real, but so is the grace that threads through every chapter of your life. If you're beginning to see how sacred clues can pave the way even in the darkest times, let me know in the comments. I read every testimony I can, and it fuels me to keep producing content like this. Now that we understand how God might use these signs to guide us through storms, we're ready for the final part, where we'll explore the most profound connection of all, the link between these lines, your life's calling, and the spiritual inheritance you never knew was yours. Sign 5, a grand invitation to purpose. The true power of the crescent moon and M on your hand isn't about predicting fortunes. It's about receiving a sacred invitation to step into a purpose designed for you before you were even born. Sometimes we see glimpses of that purpose in the hunches that won't leave us alone, or in the tears that arise when we feel an overwhelming sense of gratitude. Other times, it emerges through a life-changing event that jolts us awake to what truly matters. I once counseled a woman named Denise who felt stuck in a corporate job with no sense of fulfillment. She found herself strangely drawn to the faint crescent shape on her palm, and every time she stared at it, she felt a holy restlessness. One Sunday, she visited a local church and heard a sermon about serving the marginalized. That night, she couldn't sleep. She kept revisiting the idea that her life was meant to intersect with the needs of people who are overlooked. The next morning, she took a leap of faith and began volunteering at a community shelter. Over weeks and months, Denise discovered she had a knack for connecting with individuals battling homelessness. Her presence brought them comfort, and her story of dissatisfaction resonated with their feelings of isolation. In time, she left her corporate job and dedicated herself to building transitional housing programs. She told me she never would have found her true calling if she hadn't listened to the subtle whisper that her crescent line represented something more. You might wonder, why would God choose something as simple as lines on your hands to spark such a big shift? Because He delights in using ordinary things to awaken extraordinary destinies. If there's an itch in your soul that won't go away, if you felt a pull towards something you can't yet define, this might be your moment to say yes. Type a simple affirmation in the comments, "I'm ready" or "I hear the call," if you sense that these words resonate with your journey. There's power in declaring your readiness. Now that we've walked through 5 parts of discovery, touching on the spark of awareness, the biblical resonance, the faith meets modern life connection, the crisis navigation, and finally this grand invitation to purpose. I hope your heart feels open to new possibilities. As you look at your palms tonight, remember that nothing is random. There's a divine story unfolding, and you're invited to step in. We've reached the end of our main content, but in truth, your journey is just beginning. If anything here has sparked a flame in you, keep that fire alive. Revisit the signs, reflect on scripture, share your story. And hey, if you found value in this conversation, I'd be honored if you'd subscribe and share this with someone else who needs to hear it. Our next video dives even deeper into how everyday elements can hide profound spiritual truths, so stay tuned, you won't want to miss it. Beyond the lines, a final divine whisper. Friend, you made it all the way here, and I can't thank you enough for spending this time with me. Because you stayed until the final moment, I want to share something truly special. Sometimes, the quietest whispers in your heart are the strongest indicators of the path you're meant to walk. Even if it feels impossible or scary, that voice may be guiding you to the greatest breakthroughs of your life. I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. Maybe just write, "I'm listening," or "I'm ready," if you feel something shifting inside. That simple action can be the first step toward embracing whatever calling is stirring in your spirit. Remember, you are never alone in this journey. Even on the toughest days, you have a hidden reservoir of strength and grace waiting to be tapped. If today's message resonated with you, I invite you to subscribe and share this video with someone who needs a reminder that hope is always within reach. Thank you again for being part of the Sound Codes family. Your presence here truly matters, and I can't wait to see what unfolds for you next.